a little bit lower than I thought they should get. I think the only reason they didn't get the 11 is because Piedra Vista ended up the 11th seed. You can't match up with the same team in your own district. So I do think you're right, James. They like that matchup very well. It's a long trip. It's going to be a 2 o'clock game on Saturday afternoon, and I think they like that matchup. They played a tough schedule. They'll have a week to prepare, and I don't think anybody's seen Reese Goodman down there. So
no.
If he can match up with their quickness, you got to like Capital's chances going down there.
I concur. I like them a lot. I looked at Santa Teresa's schedule and their roster. Capital, if they keep their heads together, they can, and that can be difficult for them. But that's a winnable game for Capital High School to go that far. And I think we could get there from here, but it's going to take a while to get to Santa Teresa. But that's a long trip, but that's certainly a winnable game for Capital to go to Santa Teresa and win. And can anybody explain how the Grants Pirates got the number 10 seed?
Well, they started off 10-1 to begin the year. They went 7-7 after that, so they weren't that strong. But when you compared what they were able to do against, say, the 11 seed there, Piedra Vista, which fell apart there at the end of their district schedule and in the district tournament, losing to Farmington. They were in line probably for maybe a top 5 seed, maybe even a top 6 seed, and then they lose their last 2 games of the regular season. Then they lose their first district tournament game against Farmington. So that kind of played in their favor. And I think Capital, by losing to Los Alamos, I thought if they had been able to get to the championship game against Espanola, they might have jumped up to that 10 seed. I think Grants just kind of fell there by default because there really wasn't anybody else there.
Yeah, and
well, they must have, because their schedule is weak. Those first 10 games they played. I mean, Cuba, Window Rock, Mira, Taos at that point in time was not a real strong ball club, but certainly I have issues with that. Certainly thought Capital would be an 8, 9, or 10 seed, or even 11.
I didn't think Capital would be below a 10. That's for sure.
I thought they were between a 10 and a 12, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they had that rough stretch there where they went 2-8. They got blown out by Pius. They got blown out by Espanola twice. I mean, they really struggled. They bounced back, after that, and starting with the win over Los Alamos back in early February there, but they really didn't have any other signature wins that kind of gave them maybe some credence over Grants or even Piedra Vista.
And James, you have Academy already getting to the semis. You know what? I like
that.
The
finals. Let's get that right.
The finals. But I like that quarterfinal matchup with Los Alamos. I think Los Alamos. We haven't talked about them. Guard play is suspect. That's definitely
their play outside Alex Kirk is suspect.
Yeah. Right. And Alex Kirk though, he's going to be fired up. I think they beat Piedra Vista and they get to the pit. That Academy Los Alamos matchup could be interesting. He's going to be playing on the floor. Well, he'll be playing the next 4 years. He's going to be fired up. And Academy has nobody to match up with him. Mike Brown is as good as they come as far as the head coaching ranks, and he'll have a game plan to guard Kirk. But I think Los Alamos has a legitimate shot at knocking off Academy in that quarterfinal matchup. And you can't, when you got a player with the ability of Alex Kirk, you can't count them out of that game.
I really hope Alan Kirk isn't listening to this radio show right now, because he's not going to like what I'm going to say here. If it wasn't for Alex Kirk, Los Alamos would be Bernalillo.
Yeah.
That's what they would be, because there is nothing there outside of Kirk. He's got some good pieces there. I mean, Austin Wolstein is a good forward that he has there that plays well off of Alex. Zach Parks is a decent guard, but when you get past those three, they're really very suspect there. I think that they may struggle a little bit with Piedra Vista, but against Albuquerque Academy, I just think that Mike Brown's just he's seen Los Alamos, he's scouted them well. He's probably seen some of the stuff that Capital's done against Los Alamos to kind of slow them down, and what Espanola has also done. I think he's going to be prepared for them, and I don't even think it's going to be close when they play.
I'll tell you something else about that. That's a March 10th game, Wednesday in the pit, and the Lobos won't be in town. They'll be in Vegas, and for all those Lobo fans who might be in town, might want to get a glimpse of Alex Kirk. Something tells me he, triple-double wouldn't be out of the question.
I keep pushing for a quadruple double for Coach, but he came close against Bernalillo. I think the first time they played them, I think he ended up like about 4 assists short of a quadruple double. So I keep telling him, maybe you should save it for the pit in Albuquerque.
Well, I think the Los Alamos Hilltoppers, if they play like they did the other night against Capital, they played extremely well. And and they only played about 6 players, 6 guys. I think that one, maybe 2 came off the bench late, but they played very well. Alex is obviously the star of the team, but Coach Kirk has got some pieces to fit in there. If they play well, they can certainly get to the pit and certainly beat Academy. But I don't expect them to, but certainly it'll be fun to watch. All right, so we've got Capital winning at Santa Teresa. Who's going down there?
Jeff, you covering that one?
We haven't figured it out. We haven't figured it out yet. Obviously, I'm going to Espanola because.
Pancho Moore's going to be traveling down to where? Santa Teresa.
Santa Teresa.
That's south of Las Cruces for anybody who doesn't really know.
Good 4.5, 5 hour road trip.
Okay, and that's probably something we're going to be looking at.
I'm glad Pancho doesn't believe in listening to the radio.
Okay, we've got Class 5A, and we'll have some more predictions for you, and we'll be doing that here shortly. So we'll be back with more of our bracketology show, and